So I'm recording this on 14th of February because here in the UK that's Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day is a day for acknowledging and expressing love for another person. But I want to turn that around and encourage you to look inwards and to think about whether or not you actually love yourself, whether or not you express that love for yourself, or does that feel too indulgent? And it may well do, because certainly when I was brought up, to do something like that would have been, there'd have been comments like, you're too full of yourself. That wasn't acceptable. But actually, it is necessary, because we have a real desire to fit in and we want to be accepted in groups. And that's part of a survival tactic, because on our own we're more vulnerable. In a group we can protect each other, and so we have a tendency to put on a bit of a mask, adopt a different persona, so that we fit in with perhaps work colleagues or a social circle, or it might be a sports group that you're part of, or even in some cases certain members of your family, where you think that in order to be accepted then you have to be more than you actually are. It's never true, but it's often the way we think. And I just want to give you a quote that you may have seen on my social media pages before, which I love, that kind of says all this, and that's, I am not who you think I am. I am not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So I'll just repeat that. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So that just shows you that we get further away from the true authentic me, because who I think I am is that authentic person, because I know myself intimately. And you may have a different view of that. But what I tend to do is I guess what you think. I don't ask you, we don't have a conversation about it. I guess what you think about me, and therefore my feelings of who I am is based on that guesswork, so that it becomes that stage further removed from who I really am. And the reason that that's important is, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I talk about the stress bucket. And this is another source of stress that goes into that stress bucket, because you're having to work harder at being this persona. And you may have several different personas for each of the different groups of people that you spend time with. And that makes it even harder. So what I want you to do is to start to think about, how authentic are you when you're with other people? Now, if you love yourself, you will be true to yourself. But actually, if you're not really sure about where you are, then you're more likely to accept somebody else's point of view. Now, it's absolutely fine to listen to other people's points of view. I think that's how we should be. And so sometimes question it, sort of, oh, I'm really interested that you think that, because that's not what I thought. Why is it that you've come to that conclusion? So not being antagonistic, but inquiring, so that you start to learn, and that's all very healthy. But if you just start to say, yes, I thought that too, when actually it's not quite what you thought, not quite what you believe, you're not being authentic. Now, I get that there are times when you may want to create a certain impression. Often this is around the workplace, when you're wanting perhaps to appear to be more confident in a role or doing a particular task than you really feel. And they do talk about fake it till you make it, don't they? And occasionally that might be a conscious decision that that's how you want to be. But make sure that you don't just drift into that you are doing it for a purpose, because truthfully, you are absolutely enough exactly as you are. Now, that might mean that you have to accept that you've made some mistakes in the past. Some of those may be quite small, some of them might be really big and have caused quite an impact on your life and maybe other people's. Now, we can't turn the clock back, so we have to embrace all of that. You know, when we make mistakes, that's perfectly natural again, but we have to learn from them and move on, rather than carrying it around like, you know, wearing some kind of Hessian sack. It's okay to say, yep, that was me. I did that. I regret it, but I can't change it, so I won't repeat it. And that's absolutely fine. You know, to make mistakes is fine. To sometimes behave in a way that you're not proud of. You might be short-tempered, sort of unforgiving with certain people. You may not have acknowledged that somebody else is in pain of some kind. You know, again, those are things that we do that we can always work harder at, you know, becoming more patient and more aware, but we can't turn the clock back. So we have to learn to accept what has happened. Go apologise, you know, think about how you might do things differently in the future. But that doesn't change who you are. That doesn't change the fundamental of whether you're an honest person, whether you have integrity, whatever your core values are you living to those? Because if you are, and most of us are, then actually you're absolutely good enough. You may be different to me. We may have very different behaviour patterns, very different thoughts, interests, and so on. And that is all perfectly normal. So do think about how authentic are you being in each of those groups as you come across people. How authentic are you being? If you are not being the authentic you, do you want to change that? Because the more authentic you are, the more instinctive that behaviour, your reactions, thought processes are. So it causes less stress. You're not having to work so hard at it, and you're letting that level in your stress bucket go down, or at least not build up. So really important, how authentic are you being? If you're not being authentic, do you want to do something about it? So that you can actually learn to love and live with yourself and not need to look outside for external validation in that way. And we'll talk some more about how you can achieve that self-love.